Your team is a national finalist in the 2017-18 Samsung Solve for Tomorrow contest. And guess what? You've already won $50,000 in Samsung technology for your school.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to not cry. And doing this just makes me feel like I can accomplish more than I ever thought I could.
We've been coming in early in the mornings. Now 7:45 is when our doors open. We're there till the bell rings at 8:20. And any time in free time we have a class, we're down there working on it. We just want to make a difference.
Bye.
Yay, yeah, we're excited to be here. That's great, yeah.
Wow. Welcome, Samsung Solve for Tomorrow Top 10 National Finalists.
Go ahead, congratulate yourselves. It's hard getting here, and it's amazing that you all are. I'm blown away by the passion and the enthusiasm. It's awesome. But you should find out who we are first.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle Mosa, and I work on the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow team. When I just watched that video again, every time I watch it, I feel so proud of each of you for the incredible work you've done, for the solutions you've come up with. And we're also so proud that you've all won $50,000 for your schools already in Samsung technology. So round of applause. So welcome students, welcome teachers, welcome mentors, welcome judges, welcome colleagues, and welcome Kyle. I'll let Kyle introduce himself.
Oh, hello. Hi, everyone. My name's Kyle Hill. I talk about science on TV and the internet, and the core of what I do, though I talk about sometimes very silly things relating to science, it's all about education. Getting more people, and especially the types of people in this room today, more interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, and to see you all here so committed to be doing this, to come all the way to New York, no matter where you're from, to do this. It's absolutely fantastic, because this is what it is. This is taking what you learn in the classroom and applying it to your lives and your communities, and then getting up here in front of people and telling the world about it because you love it. It's great, and I'm so happy to be here.
So we have an amazing day in store for you, or I should say, you all have an amazing day in store for us.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get started, we'll have some opening remarks from the co-founder of the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow program, Dr. David Steele.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for being here. I heard some of you have come quite a long way, some from Oregon. Who's from Oregon? Very quiet from Oregon. Who's from California? Okay, we're picking up the tempo. Then we have some who have come from up in the Northeast. Who's from Maine? Yeah, tempo is definitely, it's going to be a good day, I think. And then we've got some from, who's from North Carolina? Wow, I don't think we need anyone else after that. That's like very good. But Kentucky, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan. Who's closest to home? New Jersey, right? Who am I missing? Anyone? Nebraska, right. They're gone. It's just you. Well, welcome all the way from Nebraska. I'm glad. Sorry the others couldn't make the trip, but I'm glad you could make it. No, it's great to have you all here because it means a lot that all of you have achieved so much. You're all national finalists, which means you're all going to leave with that huge prize package, but you have a chance to pitch your products and your projects and talk about what you've done. You know, we set up this program a few years ago because, as you heard, the importance of science education And we felt that as the largest tech company in the world, we had a responsibility to help support science and engineering and math education here in the US. And we all know it's kind of boring in the classroom, right? Teachers, cover your ears when I say that. It's kind of boring in the classroom. The real value comes when you get out into the real world and you really apply all that science, that engineering, math, technology, even the arts these days, apply that in the real world. And that was the genesis of Solve for Tomorrow, applying what you learn in the classroom to the real world. Because once you leave school, guess what? You're going to be in the real world. So applying these skills outside, whether it's technology skills or even pitching skills, presenting, learning to communicate and talk about what you're doing. So it's just really, really great that you're all here. And I have a personal confession to make. I actually started way back when studying physics. Who likes physics? Anyone? Oh gosh, that's good. Usually when I tell people I studied physics, they say, oh, is that the time? And then they walk off. Physics is really great. So even though I made the transition into business, physics is with me every day in the way I solve problems, structure my thinking, look for numbers, look for data. So the kind of skills and the techniques that you're learning and studying science, engineering, technology, mathematics, these are going to be with you whatever you do in later life. So I really want to thank you all again for being here. Thank our judges for being here. Samsung Next is going to be doing a great job during the program while you're in New York. Most of all, my request for you is to have fun while you're in New York. Some of you, it's the first time, I hope, so experiencing this great city. And secondly, take some of the excitement of this program back to your communities, because at the end of the day, you're teams of teams. It's not just the students, not just the fantastic teachers, it's the support of principals, parents, whole communities. So take that excitement of solving problems and applying science and technology back to your communities. And who knows, you could be coming back here, 2 years in a row, you could be more successful in this program. But I think taking that excitement of what you're doing here in Solve for Tomorrow back to your communities, that will really be a great win for all of us. So have a great time. Good luck to all of you, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. So we're just about ready to get started, but before then, I'd like to introduce your amazing judges today. So we have 5 judges here who will be listening to your projects. They're all already familiar with your projects because they've watched your videos and they've actually scored your videos already. So without further ado, let me welcome each of those judges. So first we have Flora McKiernan. She is a Senior Vice President at ABC Disney. And next, I'd like to welcome Emily Becker. She's SVP and head of Samsung Next International. Next, I'd like to introduce Jim Reed. Jim Reed is, for the teachers here, Jim Reed is a former winning Samsung Solve for Tomorrow teacher.
Nice.
Next, I'd like to welcome Elliot Mork. Elliot Mork is a returning judge from last year. Elliot is a vice president at Project Lead the Way. And last, for those teachers and students here, last night we talked a little bit about Samsung home appliances. Our last judge is a VP of Home Appliance Marketing, Katie Chang. Welcome, judges. Thank you for being here today. So, as a reminder to everyone, we'll now go through each of the presentations for all 10 schools. This morning's session, we'll hear from 6 of the schools. Each school will have 10 minutes to present. 4 minutes will be their presentations, and then the final 6 minutes will be question and answers with the judges. Kyle and I will be here for most of those presentations, and we'll also be watching the clock for you. And we can go ahead and welcome our first school up.
So, first up, I'm so excited. First up, we have Gearing High School from Nebraska.
Welcome, Gearing.
Gearing. Turn on the computer. Okay. And as they're getting set up, something to remember. I know everyone is probably feeling kind of nervous. You're in a new location, you're about to do a presentation, but just remember the science speaks for itself, right? You've worked this hard to get to this point, and now you're about to present something that you've worked so hard on. Let that passion come through, and the judges and everyone here will see that. It'll be genuine because you are all so genuine. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. So just remember that. It's gonna feel pretty nerve-wracking, but just be yourselves, be excited, and everything should go smoothly. And with that,
Hi, we're from Gering High School. My name is Rachel Rawlings.
I'm Adam Minch. And I'm Kenny Wachowski.
So, water is the most precious resource in this entire world, and microplastics threaten our water source. In our small area of Gering, Nebraska, we rely very heavily on the Ogallala Aquifer, and microplastics, they threaten not only our Ogallala Aquifer, but water sources globally. So what microplastics are, they're what they are. They're what they sound like. They're microplastics. So they're just to give you a quick reference. In your hair is 8 microns big, so they're tiny, tiny. So microplastics, they come from the breaking down of smaller plastics or synthetic materials, stuff like that. So every time you wash a synthetic material like polyester, thousands of microplastics shed from that piece of clothing and they enter the gray water exit. And that they're small enough that they make it through the waste treatment plant and they go right into lakes, rivers, and eventually the ocean, which are then fish then consume those. Microplastics, they act as sponges and they soak up toxins in the water, which just makes them even more detrimental to the environment. So for our project this year, we created a filtration system to filter these out.
So we went through many different iterations. Standing next to Kenny is kind of our final one. Went through about 7 or 8 to kind of get down to something that a consumer would really want or even think about implementing into their home. We started with something that came to nearly 7 or 8 feet. It would be nearly up to your ceiling, and no one's going to want to put that in their home, we realized. So we looked and looked, and through using standard PVC and then starting to 3D print different things to get this down to about 3 or 4 feet. And we think even through more research and development of our project that we could get it down to maybe just a 2 canister system, and then it would only be around 2 feet. Is kind of where we're going with it. So we're hoping that someone would want to put this behind their washer, I guess. We started originally with putting a 100 micron sock. There's just these different socks of different, they're different micron ratings, how much they let through. So we started going from 100 to 10 to 1, and we had a lot of issues with clogging and with it not really getting a lot through. But we ended up doing a 300 micron and then a 300 micron mesh Steele canister, and then a 100 and a 10, and that really worked well. To kind of help with our clogging, we ended up doing a spin out, kind of a spiral ovoid, which really helped push the water up throughout the whole sock and getting a lot more efficiency out.
So, like with that ovoid, when we put the socks in, they would sink too low into the canister, and then the water would only flow at the bottom, and we'd only get around 20 washes out of this one sock. Well, when we throw that spiral ovoid in, it was able to, the water would hit it and it would splash outwards, and it would, instead of just using one point in the sock, it would use the entire sock. So we were able to go from about 15 to 20 washes up to about 40 to 50 washes.
If you can wrap up, we're going to move into the question and answer session.
Do you have anything?
You're good? Okay, wonderful.
Fantastic. So that was a 1/1,000,000th of a meter. That's what we're talking. That's why these things are so insidious, because as the plastics break down, we don't know if they're ever going to fully break down. They get down to the millionth of a meter range, and then they bioaccumulate and they end up in our food. Judges, any questions for the team? Yes, Emily.
Great job, by the way, guys. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
So it sounds like you did 7 or 8 iterations with the tubing and lots of iterations with the sock, and you learned a ton. Was there anything that was really surprising about what you learned, and how did that translate back to sort of your STEM learning?
Well, a thing that was super surprising to me was just how much microplastics are in clothing and are in our environment altogether. Just right now, 3/4 of the plastic in the ocean is microplastics. So, like, just the mass of microplastics that are already on the world in the earth.
It is actually estimated right now there's 1.3 million trillion microplastics already in our oceans.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, that sounds really bad. Any other questions from the judges? Yes, Ellie.
It's really impressive how you iterated through and found a problem that you wouldn't have expected before you started the project. Have you done any consumer testing about changing the filters out?
We haven't really, I guess, implemented it directly into someone's home, but we did test it in our wood shop, and we implemented. These are just standard PVC unions that would go above and below, so that this would slide out, and then they screw off, at each one, so that we're trying to, think of a way, yes, to make it very easy for a consumer to be able to change these.
Yes.
So, as a home appliance person, you can only imagine how excited I was to see something like this. So, my question to you is, have you thought about, and why, are you thinking about selling this directly to consumers and that they would install this themselves? Or are you thinking that companies like ours, where I work on home appliances and washers and dryers quite a bit, that's something that companies like Samsung should be implementing?
So, yeah, we actually did think about that. So, this was our original design, but where we want to take this project like further in and doing more research and making it better and more economic is just like how your dryer has a lint trap that you pull out. We want to implement this into it to where it's just a tube that you pull straight out of your washer, change your socks, put it back in, and you're done. And we actually found that this implementing it into the washer would work better with a front loader instead of the top loader. That way you can just pull it straight out and straight back in.
Yeah, and I mean, you see countries and states already opting to ban microplastics or attempting to deal with microbeads and stuff like shampoos. So seeing an appliance like that would include something like this isn't, it's not out of the question. Yes, Jim.
Your designs are beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
My question for you is, so your designs, were they something you guys came up with? Did you like 3D model them and print them themselves, or was it an outside organization, company in your community that helped you print that?
Yeah, we actually our model, I guess, is just like standard PVC pipes. But yeah, we designed this. We actually, towards the beginning of the year, we all split into different groups in our class, and we all came up with different prototypes and ideas, and we eventually settled on that one and came to the conclusion that that would be the most efficient. So
Yeah, I mean, like, we were originally using PVC pieces, so those were donated to us by a local store, and then our washer was also donated by a local store, but everything else was all on our own. Like, me and Adam have been taking AutoCAD for a couple years, so it definitely helped with the design process and then the experimentation that went along with it.
Sure. So how many kids were involved in your group? How many on your team?
So there's 2 engineering classes, and there's about 44 kids altogether.
It's a pretty sizable team. Yes.
So how did you get members of your community involved in this project? Because since you rely on this aquifer, I'd like to understand how much you've gotten the rest of the community involved.
Um, Justin actually, his brother owns a plumbing company, and he was able to donate a lot of the PVC pipes for it. So we were able to get help with that. And for our washing machine, they actually needed a microwave stand, so we kind of exchanged trades. Like we made them a microwave stand for their display, and they gave us a washing machine. So
It also definitely helps that we want to clean the water, and you can definitely get a community's like backup on when it comes to something so precious like water that they use every day, every minute.
Any further questions from the judges? Otherwise, we can. All right, everyone, big hand to Nebraska.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. You guys did awesome. Thank you. So I think they're going to help you take some of your stuff here.
Thank you, team. So actually, one of the things, Kyle, I don't know if you've seen this. There was a recent article published about microplastic in our salt supply. When you think about
Sure.
salt and where salt comes from, and that it's now making its way into our salt supply, which I found quite disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, and it is critical, right? I mean, the sinister thing about microplastics is that they tend to bioaccumulate, meaning that they are eaten at the smallest parts of the food chain, and they accumulate up as they are consumed and consumed and consumed. So definitely an interesting project.
Right, I'm gonna come on over next to you here.
Yes, please.
So we're gonna welcome Amro High School to the stage.
Yes, Wisconsin. Let's hear it for them. Now, I'm from Wisconsin, but I'm not judging.
He's biased.
So I am biased.
He's biased.
But I'm not judging you. Great.
So there's a fox on the blind. I guess that's the mascot?
Yeah, we're the Amro Fox.
Ah, makes sense. Okay. Are you ready to go, or do you?
almost.
Okay, no rushing. I'm not rushing you. Just just making.
So who here's from out of town? Just kidding. I mean, most of you are out of town. It's a science show.
Almost there. Okay.
All right, and with that, we'll let you take it away.
Hello, I'm Peyton Retzloff.
I'm Anna Kriske.
And I am Rebecca Egan, and we are from Amarillo High School. And our solution or our problem was that our school gets really hot during the hotter months of the year. And even though we are from Wisconsin and we're known for our cold weather and stuff, it still gets really hot. And our school does not have any AC or air conditioning or anything like that. So we
have our smart shade is what we call it, and it is made out of aluminum alloy, and essentially it is able to block the heat and radiation from the sun. All our windows on the south side of the school, and we figured that it's about 190,000 watts are let in the school, which is about 133 space heaters. So it is a considerable amount of heat. So this smart shade is actually able to keep the school about 7 degrees cooler inside, and it can also flip up, and during the wintertime it can also let in heat too to heat up our school, which costs efficiently takes down the cost of heating too. And of course, right on top, we have UV emissively paint, so it keeps the artwork longer, and that's another part of it. We also want to beautify the community, so we put on some pretty artwork so everybody can enjoy.
So before we built the smart shade, we ran some simulations on physics 2D, and what we learned is that like you can visualize the UV rays and the light rays, and you can see how the building heats up, and uh, it it shows the trigonometry off pretty well. How we're able to effectively block the heat, so that we cut the aluminum to the smallest size we can, and then also have it flip up and reflect more light in, depending on what latitude you're at on the Earth and what time of year it is. So yeah, the linear actuator allows it to change angle, as I will show off with the key fob.
And while this is going up, I'll talk about the benefits that it has. As we have said, it will keep the building cooler in the summer, and it can also heat it up. And it also adds obviously a beautifying kind of aspect to the community with the artwork on top. And it also is it's cheap and affordable, and you don't have to like buy AC because AC can get really expensive, and it doesn't require the maintenance air conditioning machine would require, so it's just like a one and done kind of situation. And that this is when it's fully up, you can see how the UV rays would reflect into the window and into the building.
So I guess just to help finish it off is it was really felt important that we can use all parts of STEAM. So using the science and technology with the actuators, we had to figure out thermodynamics. Engineering, we use a whole entire engineering process of getting down groups, brainstorming, building, figuring it out, and of course, we added the art. That was really important because art can be used in all parts of science and technology. So I think that's kind of what separates us, and finally math.
So the smart shade is a good alternative to conventional AC or other temperature controlling methods. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amro High School. Great job.
Great job. All right. It is a nice looking fox. Again, it's foxy, if you will.
Yeah, she did it. Peyton, do you want to put it?
Again, I'm biased. Now, with that, do we have any questions from the judges? Yes, Emily.
Great. Just, obviously there'll be a lot of, it's funny. There'll be a lot of these shades throughout the rooms. Do you guys have an idea of when you do sort of full production around how much it would cost? And then I have a second question. And then also, I know that in your video you talked about sort of getting the right angling for the sun as it arced over. I don't know if every user would have a good idea of sort of the angling of the sun. So how do you imagine people would install it effectively?
I'll answer the first part of your question. So the estimated cost of our shade was about $250. So the actuator was the main cost of it. It was about $100. So that, and then one plan we had in the future was to add an Arduino board, and that would be able to be adjusted to like any home if it's retrofitted. And that's something we just didn't get to. I wish we could have.
And also the Arduino board can be like programmed with the angle of the sun, so we can maximize like the reflection in and out of the building.
Great. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
So I believe you were the group that actually asked your community. Was you the group that asked the community what you should be focusing on? Or did you?
Our class came up with different ideas, and we talked to members of the community, and then they selected what they thought was the best, and that's what we went ahead with.
Okay, that was my question. How did you get the community involved in deciding on this particular project?
I guess a lot of the students, we talked to a lot of the students who are actually in the school because the students are what make up our great school. And a lot of problem was being able to focus with the hot conditions or even in the winter time with it being cold and stuff, and just for the students to feel comfortable and be able to learn better. So, yeah.
And also, we kind of did what we're doing here in front of like community members and school administrations and all that. We did pretty much what we're doing here because we split up into little groups, and then this was the group that won, and we made this project.
Yes, go ahead.
What are your next steps? Are you installing it on your school this summer?
So we haven't talked to administration about that yet, but one thing yeah, I hope so. But one thing I'd like to talk to some local like construction companies or something similar to that, and maybe actually have an impact on the community with this project. And then maybe if we get some recognition, that'll prove to the community that STEAM is an important thing that they should be focusing on, and maybe we can get a STEAM lab built, right, Mr. Turner?
I know also I had also talked with my art teacher too about even putting up some murals because we also felt that like art is an important part of STEAM, beautifying the community, also changing the world, but also making it look better at the same time. And this can be retrofitted into any house in the community. So even just talking to the community, getting involved, seeing what their heating or cooling costs are, and cutting that down.
Yes.
Hi, can you talk about any of the hurdles you had during the process?
Well, we are like when we were choosing what to like pick, we chose it with like 2 weeks until we had to like come here. So like or like we had to ship it out. So we had to build this within like 2 weeks. So we took like a whole day off of school to build it. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing 'cause we got out of school. But but that was another hurdle, and just getting kind of the money to build it and stuff was
Okay.
So I have one question. So who I know that you came up with quite a few ideas and brought them to the community, but what was the motivation in the beginning? In the beginning. So when you came up with the idea, why was it that you were hot, you were cold, or was something else? What was your inspiration?
Well, I guess like when Mr. Turner showed us the competition, it was pretty warm outside, and the school was getting hot, and like all the students decided that that was a problem in our school, and we wanted to try to solve it.
Yeah, I guess in the very beginning, we wanted to make something that produced energy but also looked good at the same time. So yeah.
And so your idea was the winning idea of all the ideas you considered. How many team members do you have?
We have a whole class about 12 or 11. They're all up there somewhere. So yeah, wave. So yeah, so we all just really pitched in. Everybody worked together as a team, listening to each other. All it was couldn't have asked for a better team to work with. So
Wonderful. And we also, as some of your community members watching from home as well.
yes, yeah.
Hello,
It's a big thing.
Wisconsin.
It's a big thing for
Hi.
a small town. So
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, big hand for team from Wisconsin.
Thank you.
You know, it does get pretty hot in the summertime.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, it's like -22 out there, but in the summertime, it is just unbearable.
Did you have air conditioning in your high school?
Uh,
Oh wait, you were from Wisconsin, right?
yeah,
Did you have air conditioning?
I had air conditioning, but we had a bigger high school. For some of older buildings and such in
Yeah.
Wisconsin, it is. I mean, the heat balance is an important balance, just like educational balance. Yeah.
My high school, so I went to Sleepy Hollow High School in Sleepy Hollow, New York, which is like 40-minute drive from here. Hey, Sleepy Hollow. Our high school, amazing high school, all windows overlooking the Hudson River, amazing, amazing. But that felt like a greenhouse. So it was beautiful, but we were always really hot. So this idea really resonated with me because I remember taking exams and sweating profusely, even in like starting in May, I think.
Yeah, nice thick windows are great when they're insulated in the wintertime, but then they just block more, as the student said, infrared radiation, UV radiation, and it gets hot.
Right.
So we ready for the next team? I think so.
Looks like we are.
So next up, we have the team from North Carolina. Everyone give a big hand for them.
Welcome, Thomas Jefferson Middle School.
All right. And whenever you're ready, take it away.
Hello, my name is Jake Gruber.
And I'm Rylan Little.
We are excited to be here for the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow event. We have created a floodgate that deploys when roads flood.
Yeah, so pretty much after seeing the devastation caused by the hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria, our science teacher, Mr. Schnabley, challenged us to make something that would protect people in the case of a flooding event. So what our idea was the Flood Alert Samsung Street technology, or FAST Streets. Basically what it does, whenever water reaches 6 inches above ground level, it'll shut off the road, and whenever the water recedes, open the road back up.
The reason we chose 6 inches is because 6 inches is enough water to stall the average car. Also, when your car stalls out there in the middle of the flash flood, if the currents get up to 6 miles per hour, it could cause, it's like trying to open your door against 250-mile-per-hour winds, which is equivalent to an F5 tornado. Also, if the currents get up to 25 miles per hour, that is trying to open your door against 750-mile-per-hour winds.
So in our town, Winston-Salem alone, there are 10 to 12 flooding events every single year. And in the United States, there are 85 deaths related to flooding every single year. 2/3 of these deaths are people trapped in their cars, and 1% of these deaths are rescuers trying to get people out of these cars. So this isn't just a Winston-Salem issue. It's not a North Carolina issue. It's not a national issue. This is a global issue.
Through this process, we talked to our Assistant Fire Chief, Tad Byram, and he let us know that each community knows exactly where their flood-prone zones are, and that sadly, each community doesn't have enough barriers for each road that has a flood-prone zone. So they have to send out their first responders to block the road, and those first responders should be out saving lives.
Yeah, that's another really good benefit of our gate is you don't have to send people out there to block off the road if it gets flooded and you don't have enough barriers. It reaches 6 inches, gate closes, and you don't have to worry about it. And another thing it does is it blocks off the road and people know that it's 6 inches and you're not going to be able to go through it. It's a bad situation. Like in our county, we have 2 fire trucks that are equipped for water rescue, and that's a very common issue. So if we could try to stop people from thinking they can go through the water, it'd be great. And firemen don't have to put their lives in danger because water rescue is one of the most dangerous rescues they can do.
He also let us know that water rescues are, like what he said, the most dangerous. And there's 3 main reasons for flash floods. One reason is precipitation. The second reason is drought. And the third reason is the slope of the land. And what I mean by the slope of the land is if, say, there's mountain range 50 miles away that way, and they have the biggest storm you've ever seen, the water could come rushing down that hill, and it could hit your little valley, and you guys could experience the full thing from the flash flood, even though you didn't get a drop of rain.
Yeah, so flooding's the thing everywhere, and especially places that don't have rain, droughts especially, hardens up the ground, can't take in water, and there's plenty of different ways that floods happen, slope, high to low, and it's a global issue, and we think that this will help stop it.
And it usually happens mostly in the summer seasons because that's when it's the most hot and the sun's beating down on the ground. But we would like to thank you for your time and everything, so thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Great work, guys. This is good because I know there are a lot of people. It's like 6 inches of water. I can handle it. So I like the idea. Judges, any questions? Sure. Let's go to Jim first.
You guys are very well rehearsed. Nice job. So my question for you is, have you presented your ideas and your prototypes to your community? And if so, how has that been received?
Yeah, we've had a couple news stations, local news stations. We had Fox 8, WXII, and Channel News 2 come in, and they did a little report on the gate. We showed them how it works. We have the big, fully functioning prototype, and you put in 6 inches of water into like the sensor, and it'll raise it up, close the gate, and then open back up when you pour the water back out. So the community has been really, really happy for us, really pushing, hoping that we can get further if we can.
Oh, Elliot, did you have a question for us?
So when I watched your video, I was really impressed with the idea and kind of asked myself, why don't we already have this? It seems like a really, really good idea. I'm also very impressed with the research that you did about 6 inches and everything. So if you've done the research, why doesn't this exist? What's the big barrier to implement this at scale?
Well, I guess one of the big barriers is people. I think it would be obvious. There's water on the road. You might not be able to go through it. Let's not do it. And I guess we already have barriers set out. This is really just I think, a good improvement. 6 inches of water, it opens and then closes when the water's gone.
Yes, Katie.
So my question is, and I'm sure you've thought about this, I just didn't get out of your video, which is, I'm assuming when you're having a flood situation, bad storms, whatever, it knocks the power out. If the power goes out, how do you envision that this is going to activate and work?
Yeah, you see the right here, a solar panel. It'll have a solar panel that takes in light during the day, and hopefully there will be a battery that will have it charged. And if the power were to go out, it would still have power in there to open and close the gate.
We can do an example for you if you'd like.
All right, I guess let's try it.
Close the valve first.
Yep.
Science live. Hey, pretty good, right? Yeah.
And we also have, there will also be the sensor with it. So when the water touches it, it'll signal our phones and they'll go off and say road flood.
Well done. It's not to scale though, right? Because that's
No.
either a tiny
This is
truck
not
or a
to scale.
huge barrier.
We had the full scale.
They
one.
have a
No, I'm
huge
just
one.
I'm just messing with it.
They couldn't get it shipped here because it's gigantic.
Yes, please.
So I didn't realize you had that. That is actually really an interesting idea with the app. Are you envisioning that that would be a community alert thing that tells which gates are closed, or how is that supposed to work?
We're gonna have it set up through like Waze and things like that, so people can find out an alternate route. And also, we have it so it'll notify all the emergency services out there, so that they'll know that the road's flooded there. They don't need to go put a barrier up there if they don't have the gate implemented there yet.
Yes, Jim.
I'm impressed. So the app, who helped you develop the app? Is that something that you guys did in-house?
Yeah, that's something that we've been working on, especially the Samsung Smart Things using the water sensor. We're hoping to get like help from Waze and other like communicating apps as well, bigger apps, so that we can send it to more people and they can know.
Yes, please.
How many people were part of this team that helped develop this?
We had around 5 core students, but we also had pretty much our whole class did the research and everything. But the 5 core students are who built the gate, did all the news interviews and everything.
And
Yes.
what is the cost?
Well, the cost, ours was made out of PVC pipe. It's not really expensive, but I guess it's going to depend on where you are, partially. Phone's going off. It's going to depend on where you are and how much, like the solar panel. I'm not sure how much that's going to cost, but
The other
shouldn't
thing
be.
is, what about, who cares about the price? It saves lives. Who needs it?
All right, Jake.
I mean,
How do you respond to that?
Great
I mean,
answer.
city officials do, but yeah. How much did you guys do the? We can ask questions. I didn't know that. Did you guys do the calculations on how much? You said the force on opening a door. How much force is just 6 inches of water? You said.
6 inches of water is enough to stall a car. If you have 6 mile per hour currents.
Yeah.
Then it's 250 mile per hour winds, or equivalent to an F5 tornado.
So what I'm wondering is the channel dug out of the road?
No, that's just for the model.
No, basically what it would be is just we would have a sensor about 6 inches above the ground, and then if
Mhm.
water were to reach that level, the sensor would recognize it and then close it off. And then whenever the water went back down, it would reopen it.
Any other questions? All right, fantastic. Big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job.
I'm glad they showed that to
Yeah.
us, how it was working. That's really amazing. And synced with their phones.
I mean, I could see that being a big. I mean, if I got an alert sent to my phone knowing that,
Right.
hey, this street is closed, you're probably going to avoid that street.
Yeah, and especially if you're thinking about it, like integration with some any of the apps, the navigation apps, I think makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
to avoid that area.
Yeah, and I live in California, and I'm trying to envision what the fire sensor equivalent of this would be, because my state is always on fire.
We might learn about that later.
Speaking of which, everyone, please give a big hand for our next team from California.
So we'd like to welcome Santiago High School from Corona. So Kyle, it looks like we're going to learn about what you're.
That's what we call an unintentional perfect segue.
Yeah, we did not plan that.
No, didn't.
Yeah.
All right, and whenever you are ready, please take it away.
Hi, my name is Lauren,
Hi, my name is Danielle.
Hi, my name is Harshal.
and we are representing California.
911, what's your emergency?
The canyon fires are reaching my house. I don't know what to do. I don't know where my daughter is. I have a family to take care of. I'm at work. Can you please send fire respondents over there?
Respondents have been dispatched. They will be there in 6 minutes. Please stay calm, ma'am.
Fire respondents average a time of 6 minutes according to the Corona Fire Department. What can you do in 6 minutes? Within the last 21 years, the United States alone has had over 1.5 million fires, spreading across acres and acres of land.
In the events of El Nino, there is a large discrepancy between the amounts of temperature and precipitation. The sprinklers will be placed along the roof of the house and under the eaves, and the sprinklers will be angled towards the house to douse the whole house's exterior.
California recently had one of the worst droughts in history, lasting for 3 consecutive years. This elevates the chances of wildfire severity.
This is someone's reality.
This is California's reality.
This is United States' reality.
According to CAL FIRE, 1.3 million acres of land was damaged in the year of 2017 alone. According to United States Fire Association, 93 brave firefighters across the United States lost their lives in the year of 2017.
Each acre of land costs $2,000. Within 6 minutes, imagine how many lives and homes have been destroyed.
Money to memories to lives, all gone. What can we do for you in 6 minutes?
The inspiration from Project Phoenix came from our AP Physics teacher, Ms. Bergen, as our peers were directly affected by the canyon fires in the beginning of the school year.
Project Phoenix's purpose is to dampen the whole exterior of the house. The sprinklers, again, will be placed under the eaves of the house and will douse the whole house's exterior.
The sprinklers on the roof will be placed in an alternating X formation in order to disseminate water on both exteriors of the roof.
Hypothetically, say my friend Harshal here has a fire near his home. He will get an Ember Alert from Project Phoenix, and Project Phoenix is already wirelessly connected to the Raspberry Pi, a computing system that allows the user to activate his system.
The sprinkler system will be ran for 6 minutes, which is just enough time to make sure that the first firefighter respondents have arrived.
Once I get the notification on my phone, I'm able to swipe in and activate and deactivate the system based on my preferences and the information provided by the app. As shown on our prototype, the black tubing represents where the water will flow in our system.
So right now he will be demoing, but unfortunately we had our transitioner just broke. So right now he would have to turn it on manually. Never mind. It's along right here, so it would be angled and hitting towards the exterior and dousing the whole exterior completely.
This is important because cities ranging from Chicago to New York City and even all of Maui would be burned down in comparison to the 2017 Thomas Fire.
Napa Fire, $6 billion. Thomas Fire, $1.7 billion. It takes one person and 6 minutes to prevent the expansion and growth of one wildfire.
Instead of packing their backpacks, students will be packing a box full of memories when evacuating their homes. What can you do in 6 minutes? You can pack a box full of memories.
What can you do in 6 minutes? You can turn on Project Phoenix.
What can you do in 6 minutes? You can make this possibility a reality for others.
One app, 6
minutes, one system, Project Phoenix.
Wow. Thank you, Santiago High School. Great work. I actually had to do this. I had to go home and quickly pack up a bag and box of all my memories, and it's a terrible feeling. So I appreciate your team tackling this problem. Judges, do you have any questions? Yes, please, Emily.
When you were figuring out, sort of where you put the sprinklers, the angle, sort of for around the 6 minutes, did you talk to firefighters? Sort of how did you prove out what would be actually done in that 6-minute process?
So 6 minutes is the average time for firefighters to come. And it takes, for 2 sprinklers, it actually takes 8 minutes because 16 gallons per minute is actually the water flow. And would you like to add to that?
Yes, we did talk to firefighters. Also a sprinkler shop to tell us what types of sprinklers we would be using. So we would be using the one that's a full body around to make sure that the whole exterior, because the purpose of this app is to make sure all of the surface area, because when an ember comes into contact with something dry, obviously it will ignite.
Any other questions?
Did you talk through, is the amount of water that you need dependent on the material of the housing? Did you go into any of the variables around that?
So that depends on the size of the house. Approximately, as we found out, it uses 16 gallons per minute. So overall, this system would run just like your sprinklers on the lawn. So it would be very similar to how much water you'd use for that.
Yes.
Have you been able to do any prototyping or testing, or do you have any prototypes or tests planned?
We have tested our prototype, but obviously we can't build a house and try to because we don't have the funding to make a larger scale. So right now we're just limited to this, but in the future we do plan to make a bigger model just to make sure that we have the amount of sprinklers correct to the surface area.
I have a question. Is the purpose, maybe I missed this, is it explicitly to save the house or to give you more time to exit the house?
The purpose is, say you're not home. So right now, okay, so in the beginning of the school year, our peer had to douse his whole exterior instead of going to school for a week because of the canyon fires. This is basically doing that for you. Instead of you having to douse the exterior yourself, because we don't have the time. Everybody has a job or school or work or families to take care of, or you're always out. So this is, the app will turn on and then we'll douse the exterior for you. And this is buying time for the fire respondents to get to your house quicker, because every second matters at that point, and especially winds during fire season are extremely growing along with their strengths, especially with the Napa fire was devastating.
Yes, please.
So obviously you had some display challenges today, but as you guys were building this, can you talk about sort of first versions of this, iterations that you did and what you overcame?
So we actually had different ideas at first. At first, we thought that we could, put a tarp over the house, but there's variables such as the tarp could catch on fire. Um, as of this prototype,
In order to add to that, we also had our original idea was, oh, what if we had the sprinklers shooting out? But then the variables of wind was also a problem. And then the tarp, like people don't want a tarp to like, and how would we get a tarp over? So this just came to us naturally as like we were thinking about like what's around the house. Like a sprinkler system is like hidden beneath the ground. So that's where we came up with this idea.
As for the technical aspect, we ran into a lot of problems with getting the information about fires near your area. Right now, we're currently using MODIS, which is an infrared imaging system that NASA has put out online. What it does is it detects hotspots near your area. So on our app, the user is able to see where different fires are in your area, and you would get a notification for that.
So based on that notification, then if you're in, if you're in a dangerous area where embers might be present, then this system would activate in response to that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, please, Jim.
So what's your next step?
Right now, our next step is to progress further within our coding because right now we're given an AP computer science class, but it doesn't necessarily hit the basis of app creating and making sure that like we have hit a lot of bugs along with we have to create a firewall for security purposes. Like you don't want someone to randomly just go get your house address and turn on this system and have that water bill be exponentially higher. So that's where we're at right now.
So I have a question. What can you tell me a little bit more about your team and the roles that different team members played along your journey of creating Project Phoenix?
So in the beginning, Miss Bergen interviewed all of us, and she put us into 4 teams in particular. One of the teams was the marketing team, one of the teams was the coding team, one of the teams was the research and design crew, and the other team was the prototype team. And it was interesting to see people kind of go into their niche and find their passion within that, using STEAM concepts. And I personally was part of research and design, and I found that through that, STEAM concepts can be incorporated, and then through that, engineering. I want to become an engineer. So,
Oh, that's wonderful. We're so happy. That's it. That's when we talk about Samsung Solve for Tomorrow. That's one of our big goals is unlocking that passion for engineering and STEAM. So I'm so glad.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Everyone, please give a big hand for California. Fantastic.
Thank you. So Kyle, when was that for you? When did you decide that you wanted to follow a track in
Yeah.
STEAM?
Yeah, no, and I'll talk a little bit more closely with you at your booths and up on stage here about this. But I went into engineering. I went into civil and environmental engineering when I was in
That was
college because at the time, global climate change hadn't been as much of a I don't know as much in the news as it is today, so to speak. But I already knew that I wanted to do something to help my community and maybe get on the winning side of that problem. And then during college, I discovered that I liked talking about and explaining and hopefully getting other people interested in science more than actually doing the science myself. And
Was there a moment like we just
uh,
heard from Danielle over here? She told
there
us
was
that
a moment, but
spark
it's
that moment.
really nerdy. I don't know if you guys would. Have you guys ever seen the show Firefly?
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Firefly. Okay, so I wrote a blog post about how strong spaceship windshields might be, and would that allow a beloved character to live or die in that series or not? And it was tweeted out by the main actor Nathan Fillion, and he said, This is the best article I've seen on this." And then from there, I went into pop culture plus science for my day job. which is crazy if you think about it. I think about whether or not Wolverine can get a tattoo for a living.
Yeah.
It's silly. But what's not silly is our next team. Fantastic segue. Everyone, please give a big round of applause for New Jersey.
Cavallini Middle School.
All right, and when you're ready, take it away. The running back gets the ball, runs right, past the tackle, breaks free, gets wrapped up to the 40. Wow, what a hit. Linebacker came up and just nailed him, even knocked his helmet off. But wait, why isn't he getting up? In this situation, everyone would have known that the player was injured or concussed. But what if he had gotten up? What if no one knew that he was injured and continued to play with the brain injury? There's no way to know if he got hurt anyway, right? Good morning. I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
I'm Alex.
And we are
Head Safe.
Did you know that 5 out of 10 concussions go undetected or undiagnosed? And about 1 player on every football team gets a concussion each football season? Well, we saw this firsthand when one of our best friends received a concussion during one of our games.
Concussions can ruin kids' lives when they are concussed from a big hit but don't realize it. They then continue to play, getting hit more and causing even more damage to their brain while it is vulnerable. Recently, New Jersey, along with several other states, have proposed the idea to ban tackle football for all children under the age of 12.
We knew that concussions were a big problem in today's sports, so we created a way to help not only our community, not only our country, but the world. Our sensor, powered by a lithium-ion battery, uses 2 accelerometers along with a processor to calculate concussions. This data is then sent to our custom app through Bluetooth to the coach on the sidelines. This allows the concussion to not only be noticed, but to be treated, saving the player from possible brain injury.
Our app will then receive the data from the processor and will then alert the coach through a notification and audio cue on the device the app is downloaded on. The coach will be able to take the player right out of the game since the notification will be in real time and the sensor is able to process the data right away. The app also uses a player data system, which includes their height, weight, age, and the number of concussions they have previously received.
This is all open source software using Arduino code and MIT App Inventor, which are both free for all to use. They're easy to use, so anyone will be able to add whatever they'd like to it. Our goal is to share this with communities around the country. So anyone, whether it's our town of Upper Saddle River or the city of Los Angeles, will be able to access this for personal use to their team or be able to add it to the sensor they may already have.
Whether it be a middle school team, a high school team, a college team, or even a big company like Riddell, anyone you can use our software through a website. All they have to do is go to our website and download our open source software through our GitHub page.
Our sensor will be inserted directly into the helmet with Velcro. It's right here. It differs from a pressure sensor, which is another type of sensor, because pressure sensors detect a hit directly into the helmet, whereas an accelerometer can detect a hit no matter where on the body it happens.
As you can see, our product isn't trying to detect the concussions from the monster hits, but from the small cumulative hits that cause more mild concussions but build up. The sports community is in great need of something to protect the players and their futures, and HeadSafe is what they need. HeadSafe can and will allow players at all levels to stay safe while playing the sports they love, instead of being put at risk of having a life-altering injury that will affect them for years to come.
Sports are not something that should be dangerous, yet at times they're the most dangerous activity there is because of the vulnerability players have in receiving concussions. So why must we continue to go down the path that leaves millions of kids at risk for a concussion each year? Is this the type of way we want kids to be able to enjoy their passion? Well, join us on the path to safety, to no fear of our athlete in danger, and helping all concussions go properly detected. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. And great work, boys. Can we open it up for the judges? Any questions? Yes.
So what's next? This looks amazing. I feel like everybody would want to implement this. Have you done the prototypes to actually put this into schools?
So football isn't happening right now because it's fall. So we haven't
Right now.
Oh no. So we haven't had the chance to test it yet, and any medical gadget or whatever you like to call it has to be medically tested.
So we haven't had the ability to test that yet, but we would then first start with the medically tested and then add it to the field. We also have open source software on our website that we've created, which will allow anyone to buy the sensors that we've already had, which is about $70 compared to sensors that are on the market for about $200, $300. And they'd be able to buy it and download our code right off of our website. So that's also what we see in the future, people buying the pieces that we've used and then downloading our open source software code.
Excellent.
Yes, please, Elliot.
I really appreciate how tightly you have your problem defined. You know exactly the problem that you're trying to solve. My question goes into more of the requirement definitions. So have you done any research or met with any doctors about exactly what type of acceleration would be dangerous? So you can measure an acceleration, but how do you know what's dangerous for someone?
Our football coach is actually a doctor, so we've met with him, and we also did a lot of research, various colleges. We looked up Virginia Tech study, Washington State study. We learned that majority of the concussions are from acceleration hits where you get hit in the body and then you fling backwards and your brain is shaking, other than just getting nailed in the head, which usually doesn't happen. So that's what our coach told us, our doctor, and we also learned that. So we've been doing a lot of research, and that's how we found that out.
Yes, Jim.
This is a real issue, and it's cool that you guys are looking at a solution. What's the buy-in been from the community? Because what I see is a lot of parents are having second thoughts now about enrolling their kids in football and impact sports like that.
So we see this helping our community by not only protecting the players, but also allowing parents at a young age to allow their kids to play. Because, as Alex said, New Jersey is trying to ban tackle football at the age of 12, and he started in second grade, and we don't want to take that away from kids. So we see this not only helping kids from saving them their lives from concussions, we also see it for allowing parents to realize that football is a safe sport and allow them to start at an early age too.
Going along with that, we want kids to be able to enjoy their passions. So instead of their parents saying you can't play the sport anymore, we want to make it safe so that they are able to play that sport.
So then, in theory, you'd be able to tell when you get a hit that is possibly dangerous and say, yeah, maybe we should check you out. You should sit out for a while, and you can still play, but you need to know what's going on and what's happening with your brain. And I appreciate that, because I appreciate that you didn't just go with a helmet route, because as you probably know, doing your research, there is no theoretical perfect helmet. Even if the helmet was indestructible, the brain still moves in around there. Kind of dovetailing into that, do you think, though, that because of the culture around playing football, do you think that this is something that schools will actually want to know?
With schools, a lot of the main priorities is the player's safety, and so they can still play, and now it's just making the sport safer for all the kids to be playing.
Yeah, so while we did research, we found out that a lot of most schools tend to focus on is keeping the players safe rather than winning, while lots of pro and college teams, they focus more on winning. So we'd hope to implement this maybe starting in our own football team, and then moving out them while developing it more.
Sure, proof of concept. I like that. Any more questions from the judges? Yes, Katie.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the team that worked on this? Just the three of you up here, but who else worked on that?
So it was just us three, plus our other member is right there. So it was a total of us four, and that was it.
But we also got various community members, like we said, our doctor, but we also got a software engineer that our teacher, Mr. Harvey, knew, that helped us throughout the entire project. We also had a high school referee who's been reffing for various many years, who also helped us throughout the entire project.
Have you talked to other sports coaches? I played field hockey growing up, and there was quite a few women on my team that ended up having concussions. Most from like the one impact where they had an impact to their head, and even in some cases like the goalie wearing their helmet. So my question is, what about the other sports? Like, for example, lacrosse, I believe, is in season right now, and lacrosse is an impact sport. So tell me a little bit about that.
So at the moment, our sensor is able to go in any type of helmet, not just football. We were just focusing mainly on that because that's where we got our inspiration from. But it can fit into any helmet, and we also are looking to try and maybe make a headband
Yep.
so that even sports without helmets, we can make those safer too.
Sure, like soccer, which I believe has a higher concussion rate just from the fact of play, which would be a great idea.
Yeah, actually, women's soccer is the leading sport that causes concussions. We just don't play women's soccer clearly, so that's why. And also ice hockey, which would also be implemented in the helmet.
All right, great. Thank you so much, everyone. Big hand for them.
Thank you.
Women's soccer is the
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. And I believe we're going to have one more presentation
We will.
before lunch, and then we'll reconvene.
Right. We'll be hearing. I think who's next?
Up next, we have Michigan.
Oh, Michigan's coming. That's right. They're coming in now, I guess.
Yeah, big hand for
So-
Michigan.
We welcome the Michigan team.
Great. And whenever you're set up, time is yours.
Hi, I'm Donovan.
I'm Ashton.
And I'm Dalen.
And we're from the Kent Career Tech Center in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We're here today because our Solve for Tomorrow solution has the amazing ability to change people's lives forever.
We've all had awkward moments in social situations before, but 5 million people with autism struggle in social situations every single day. Does anyone here know somebody who has autism? Feel free to raise your hands. If you were wondering why we chose to focus on autism, look around you. Every hand that's raised, a hand that knows that our project can help people. I mean, you'll notice my hand was raised too. I'd love to tell you about somebody that I care about. Her name is Rose. Because of her Asperger's, she feels that helping people can be too overwhelming to even be worth trying. She struggles to understand that she has to tell people she wants to help them, or to understand that others want to help her too. She gets lonely because of it. Rose experiences the world through her own eyes, just like the rest of us, but struggles to understand that that's not the only way to see the world. That's the kind of difficulty with perspective autism can cause, and it keeps her from sharing her gifts with the world. She is my reason why.
Our solution is important because we need to value people with disabilities, people with all abilities. Studies show that people with autism are often able to think in pictures, but are also often misunderstood because they struggle in social situations.
This could lead to trouble in school and in the workplace. So we've created our solution to help those with autism interact efficiently, to be more comfortable and confident, and to share their gifts to their success. Our method of solving this challenge starts with design thinking. We followed the process closely and repeated it as many times as we needed until we solved our challenge. We also use behavior skills training to learn how to navigate those with autism through social situations. And finally, we let them experience these social situations in virtual reality. It's safe, they can do it where they feel comfortable, and there's no negative consequences for when they mess up. Everybody here can have our solution in the palm of their hand, like Ashton does right now. It's our 3D Autism Project app, and we're going to show you how it works.
So when I open the app, I have 3 options. The first is a 2D storyboard. My classmates and I drew these, designed to look like comics. They're social stories that will tell of what happens when different choices are made in a situation.
The next option in the app is a 3D animation. We take the existing storyboards and we create an animation out of them using our 3D software. It's a more impactful experience that's easier to understand, with motion compared to drawings or actual voices compared to speech bubbles. The final option in the app is a virtual reality simulation. We take all of the characters and assets from our animation and we're able to plug them into VR, where we are completely able to immerse someone with autism inside the social situation. It makes learning extremely effective, and it's a whole new way to teach. It's the difference between seeing one character wave to another on a screen to you ultimately being the one waving and getting a response back from a person you feel is actually there.
When I'm in the virtual reality environment, I see a carefully crafted 3D environment. I see the culmination of all of our efforts, but most importantly, I see something that can help a lot of people and potentially change lives.
So we asked Rose and other students with autism to try this project. These beta testers told us how to improve, but also that they could see it helping them. Rose was already changing, getting better at talking to people.
It works because the options in the 3D Autism Project app allows people with autism to practice how to be successful in social situations before they're actually in them. Knowing in advance makes them feel more comfortable, confident, productive, and successful. How amazing is that? With your help, we can make this app widely available and be able to change people's lives forever.
Thank you. Thank you. Big hand. Fantastic. Fantastic. I really appreciate the approach. I think it's a creative way to tackle a problem that a lot of us have a lot of personal experience with. And it's not building a bridge, but it's as needed. It's something that's not as it's harder to see. So
Yes.
I appreciate the focus.
Thank
Do
you.
we have any questions from the judges?
So, as a parent with a child who has autism, what kind of feedback have you got from your community, from parents? I could see that any attempt that you can make to help those kids fit in better in an environment and tackle those social interactions that they so struggle with. What kind of feedback are you getting from your community, from parents and stuff like that?
So our principal actually has a son who has autism. His son has come in a couple different times to play our games, get a chance to get inside of the VR. The change is something that can be overwhelming at first, but really does happen. It really works. Donovan could probably tell you a little bit more about how the VR works inside of autism.
Sorry, like what?
You want me to take that?
Like how it works?
Yeah, how it works for the students with autism.
So when they're in the virtual reality, they'll be in this kind of scenario like you're in class, you're sitting down, you want to raise your hand to ask a question, but you don't really know how to raise your hand or if you need to. Someone with autism would have that kind of like trouble. So we have our guide like in the virtual reality teaching them how to raise their hand and get a question for help, or how to wave to a friend, how to be more friendly, things like that.
Sure, Elliot.
It seems to me that the actual content within the virtual environment would be crucial to the success of your app. How have you iterated through that content and integrated feedback from your users?
Well, we used the design thinking process, which you'll see right there. It is a whole kind of process of production to create something that can, for this type of product. We started with storyboards initially, and so we thought these comics could help those with autism navigate. And then we progressed later and put it into 3D animations and virtual reality.
And you can see in the app itself that all three of those options are still available. We did want to create a highly interactive version, but we also wanted to create versions that were slightly less overwhelming, something that might be a little easier to handle for somebody just starting out with something as intense, honestly, as VR can be sometimes. We wanted to make it very easy to step into.
Sure, I have a question. What is obviously there's a spectrum, and who were you really seeking to help with this specific project? Is it more? You mentioned a friend with Asperger's. Is it Asperger's or is it further down the spectrum, so to speak?
We want to cross the entire spectrum. That is why there are so many different versions of the project that are accessible. There is also, it's not part of the app, but there is a demo of a 2D live storyboard almost. It's like a visual novel where it's a choose your own adventure, and that one is for students maybe who are less likely to talk or less likely to be able to handle something like a very fast moving animation. But then it does go all the way from down there all the way up to VR, where it's interaction and you're moving around and experiencing something that's entirely made up.
Okay. Yes, Emily.
So obviously, just the storyboarding and the scenario playing for folks is probably incredibly attractive. But I'm curious, was there something specific about sort of the immersion in VR that made you guys tailor the content? Because obviously, light and stimulation is something you need to think about. But was there something about that specifically that made you target that would really sort of help folks? And then, kind of knowing that, what are you guys going to do next to really sort of put this in more people's hands?
So looking to the future, we have developed the app. We want to create a very clean, very easily accessible version of the app and place it on the App Store. Because the smartphone can be put into the Samsung Gear VR, this is what we have right here. It could be very easily a worldwide kind of accessible way for teachers, but also anybody to plug in, get their students in it,
or even people who don't have autism can put it on and get an opportunity to see what it's like to have autism. Things that we might take for granted or miss in our social lives, or things that we can kind of put into the experience. So in our future, we want to stretch this beyond just a school simulation. We'd want to take it into maybe a student with autism has become an adult with autism. It's their first day in a new job, or we could stretch it into the medical field. We take it, once we have a fully functional prototype, we could reskin it with different characters in different situations and take it just about anywhere.
I'm wondering also about the VR itself. I know that also sound sensitivity, texture sensitivity can be an issue. Is the actual rig able to change to accommodate some of those challenges?
It's an excellent question. Can I pass you on to Donovan, who knows a little bit more about our VR?
Sure.
Well, the great thing about our product is that it's software. It can be adaptable for any kind of means, any kind of person that needs to fit to this kind of situation. So we can have different scenarios that kind of tackle those different problems. VR is still a very growing technology, and the future of it is amazing. You can do whatever you want with it in the future. So we have an amazing ability to completely solve these issues.
Sure. As long as you have the software, you can tailor the experience of what that software is in.
Yep.
Oh, well, great.
So can you tell me, I know I've been asking all the schools this, but can you tell me about your team and the roles that everyone played on your team? Because I remember when we spoke like a month ago, there was a lot of people that we announced.
So we have 2 sessions of students that work on this project. So in total 40 students all work on this project, and we all split into teams. We had a team of people who modeled the 3D assets inside the VR. We had a team that handled the technology for the VR. We had a couple people on sound work. We had a 2D team, which Ashton was on, which made the storyboards. And we had the animation team, which I was a part of, who actually made the 3D animations and, worked with the character models.
I did actually work on the 2D and animation team, but everything that you see here, all of those teams, we started this in January. Everything we have has been done since January, and we came into this class not knowing anything about game design or 3D animation.
Wow.
You'll notice that we didn't have a team for creating this into an app. So we've partnered with a local technology company named Yeti CGI, and they've been helping us work our technologies into the app. We actually have 3 students in our class interning there. And we also have people working there who have autism, and they really love this project and what it's going to do.
Wow, amazing collaborative
Fantastic.
effort. Amazing.
All right, big
Thank
hand,
you.
everyone, please, again.
Thank you, Kent Career Tech Center. Thank you. So I'm inspired.
Yeah, that's great. So far, 6 teams.
6 teams.
4 to
yeah.
go, and you're right. It has been fantastic. I am overwhelmed by how everyone has kind of tapped into your own communities, come up with your own solutions to the problems, creative solutions, and that's not easy to do. And it's not easy to get up here and tell us all about it either. So, congratulations to you all. It's been awesome.
Thank you. So we're just about to break for lunch, but before then, I would like to thank a very special group of people that some of them are here with us today, and those are mentors. So each of the teams, actually all 51 teams, the state winning teams had mentors, volunteer mentors from here at Samsung. So they worked with them on producing their video and getting them with their video and getting that submitted. And then we actually have the top 10 school mentors here today, with a few exceptions because flu is going around. So I would like to thank those mentors. If you're here, if you can stand up and come down to the stage. So we have Stacy Delasio. She's a mentor for Lee County Middle School West in Georgia. Jen Pointer, Ashland Middle School in Kentucky. You can just stand up here. Jen Chiron, Noble High School, Maine. And I should mention, so over here, I want to introduce you to Kelly Fitzgerald. She's been working she's part of the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow team. She's been working very closely with the mentors. Tariq Hassan, Kent Career Tech Center, Michigan. Woo. Malia Wilson, Gehring High School, Nebraska. Ariana Castelluccio, Cavallini Middle School. Michelle Lewis, Thomas Jefferson Middle School. Peter Richardson, Clear Creek Middle School. And Therese Nguyen, Amro High School. And we have one more, Vamsi Devireddy, but he couldn't make it today because he is ill, and he is from, Santiago. He's from Santiago. So thank you so much. These are our volunteer mentors, Samsung employees who really enjoyed working and very, very inspired by the students and teachers. And so please join me in a round of applause and thanks to them. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go into our prototype showcase and lunchtime. So what I'd ask for the top 10 schools, choose 2 people to get lunch and 2 people to stay by your prototypes and the showcase area, which is upstairs. You all know where that is because you've been up there already. And then once your teammates grab their lunch and come up to meet you up there, you can swap. We want to make sure everybody gets a full belly at lunch. And but also, this is a wonderful time for you to walk around, meet the other schools. For our guests, please do meet the students and teachers. They'll share with you their experience and their prototypes and their journey with you. So thank you all. Please get some lunch. Enjoy the prototype showcase. I think there was somebody up there who had some fact that they wanted to share with you. But yeah, but behind those bright lights.
Yeah, yell at me. And do you know what's weird about that? I mean, that fact has always been weird to me because like what is it, vending machines and coconut trees. When I first heard that fact, I always thought, how could that possibly be? It's because we shake them. That's a variable that's never included in those risk factors. It's like, well, if you shook a shark, you'd probably be more likely to get bit by it too. Gold coins. Yeah.
That's a good one, actually. I
Don't
think
shake
it
a
tastes
coconut
that
tree.
good either.
Oh, you got one? Better be a good one. Yeah. Whoa. Wow. Talking about my military over here. Is that how New Yorkers sound? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a New Yorker. Do I sound that way, Kyle?
A little bit.
A little bit. I
Little
say
bit.
water.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're ready to move on.
I think we're ready to move on. Okay, so we are welcoming Kentucky now, Ashland Middle School.
All right, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us out here. We're from Ashland Middle School. I'm Caleb.
I'm Aubrey. Oh, sorry. I'm Aubrey.
I'm Isaac.
So how our project all got started was with our 3D design and modeling class. We're the problem solvers of our schools, and we're the leaders in technology of our school. So we're the leaders in technology of our school. So once our day officer knew this, and he came to us and said, right now they're having to pick up needles with a pair of food tongs and surgical gloves. He said, can you guys help us find a solution to this problem? So once he challenged us with the solution, we began to do research. We researched, is there anything on the market right now? And is there how bad the opioid crisis actually is? So once we researched, we entered the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition. And once we entered, we began reaching out to our community. And we went to 3 places. We went to our local needle exchange, where they gave us great website information and great data for our database. We also went to our local Central Park, where the police escorted us around and showed us where they're finding needles at. And then we went to Huntington, West Virginia, and it's the overdose capital of the world. And they told us they get about 6 to 8 calls a day relating to the opioid crisis.
As Caleb said, our resource officer came to us and he said, can you all find a solution to this problem? So we decided by solving this, we would create a prototype using our Autodesk Inventor 3D design software, which we use in our PLTW design and modeling course. So with this course, with this prototype, we decided that this would be the best design. It is a box with teeth on the front. The teeth are flexible so that the needle can be able to enter the box and it's safely contained. Sorry, you can't hear me. So with this, our police officers came and they tested all the models, and they said that this was effective, and that they were having a problem too, that they would have to use these needles as evidence. So they needed something where they could contain only one needle, and it would be able to be shipped off to a local lab. So they handed me and Caleb this syringical tube that they put the needles in, and they said, figure out how to put one in there. And I just sort of laughed and said, okay. So I'm not a magician, but as you can see, not going in there. So we decided to build the same design, but in a cylindrical form. So it works the same way. The teeth are flexible, that way the needle can enter. And then after the needle enters, it's able to enter here. Oh, sorry, shaky. It goes in here, and then it's shipped off to a local lab, and no one comes in contact with any of the deadly diseases such as HIV, hepatitis C, or there's no fingerprint evidence on the needle itself.
So, our main mission is to protect the first responders who collect the drug paraphernalia. So, as well as the prototype, we created a website, and the website has 5 portions. The first portion is needle safety, and it has what to do if you find a needle, as well as if you do find a needle, then it has phone numbers that you can contact. Then our database is a Google map which pinpoints locations where needles have been found in the past. So we are going to pass this on to the Ashland Police Department and Boyd County Health Department so that they can upload needle locations on a regular basis. This helps because first responders can potentially get to a needle before a little kid or somebody else does, because it shows where the needle hotspots are in our area. Then our third portion is we have community information, and you can get in contact with local Ashland rehab centers. And then as well as that, we have tips and resources of our own that we have on the website, so that if you are struggling from a drug addiction, you can get help from our tips and resources. And then our final portion is, because we had a teammate who had a parent who struggled from a drug addiction, we created a family resource page because we wanted families like his to be able to help their loved one overcome an addiction. Thank you.
Do you want to see how it works? Okay.
Yeah, let's see it.
So basically with our box design, we have 2 methods of picking it up. It's just whichever one you would prefer. We have our shaking method, and then we have our squeeze method. So basically, this doesn't have a needle. Don't worry. It's just the gauge. So let's say it was found on the ground. You would take this box. The box then goes over the needle. As I said, you can do the shaking method, or you can do the squeeze method, and that needle's fully contained.
And then how this one works is a snap method. So and then you would put it in the tube, and they would send it off to a lab.
And you never came in contact, like if that was to have HIV or Hep C or anything that could be dangerous, we never came in contact with it, and there was no fingerprints put on the needle itself.
Great. Great work. Not a magician, still pretty good. Judges, you have any questions? Yes, please.
Can you talk a little bit more about the database? So who inputs the information into it?
So, okay. So as of right now, it's, very sorry. Okay. It's us uploading needles onto the website through our school accounts onto the Google map. And anyway, like, you'll be able to like zoom in closer and see it. But we are so say if I find a needle in the park, then I can
when we pass it off to the Boyd County Health Department and Ashland Police Department, I can call them and say, hey, I found a needle in the park, and then they can upload the location to our map. So then like they know where lots of needles have been found, and also where a lot of needles have been found, crime rate goes up.
How does someone other than you guys know about, well known throughout the community that you have this database?
So our database and our website right now are posted on our school website, and so people can get to it through that.
And also any news network or any newspaper network that comes to us and asks about our project, we include the link that way they can find it. And then we've also done things with our school board, and our school board is spreading the news too.
Great. Yes, Katie.
Did you guys take into account how much these will cost, and that can a community afford all of this?
Okay.
Clearly you have.
So right now we're 3D printing these models, as I said, and a 3D print for this model would be about $5, and this would be about 2 models. So we then went to our local Shawnee State University. It's in Portsmouth, Ohio. We're in the tri-state area. It's like 20 minutes away. And they have an injection molding machine, and they have an injection molding class. So basically we took all our models and we said, if we were to ask you to start developing these right now, how much would it cost? And they said with the total amount of materials, the electricity, and the total amount of materials, electricity, and any other labor fees, this one would cost about 88 cents, and this one would cost about 25 cents.
The raw materials cost in that is 42 cents, and the raw materials in that is 20 cents.
Yeah, Elliot.
That seems like it could definitely scale. Does your police department have any plans on actually using your final models?
When we begin to injection mold them, we were hopefully going to find. Our police department's tested them already, but when we injection mold them, we're hopefully gonna run some tests where they could be able to use them on. We've used needles that don't have any paraphernalia inside of them, but hopefully they'll be able to use them with used needles once we begin producing them.
Yes. Jim.
So how big was your team, and like how many kids were involved, and what were their roles?
Our team has 12 kids. Actually, some of them are up there. Our district flew them out. Thank you, district. Our district flew them out and everything. And we had 3 teams. Me and Caleb and about 6 of us there were on our prototype team.
And then we had 2 other teams, a research team, and then we had the website and database team. And then also for the prototype team, the Ashland Police Department helped us a lot with like pushing ideas and like just little tips and resources here and there. So they were a really big help to us.
Yes, please.
So you said the next step for the prototype is obviously to get out and use live needles. Have you guys thought about, obviously you telephoning in where needles is not as easy to scale as you go to other towns? Have you thought about what you guys would do next in terms of sort of opening up the information and letting more people put data in there?
Well, okay, so we're hoping, so as we said, we're passing it off to the Boyd County Health Department and Ashland Police Department. Well, we're hoping that other areas can also, like, maybe through our website or create their own website. So, like ours, like their health departments and their police departments can do that for their communities so that they could have the same benefits from the database.
Because with our project, with research, it is an Ashland issue. It is a state of Kentucky issue. It is a nation issue, but it's also a world issue. I mean, the drug epidemic isn't just in the United States, it's all over the world itself.
Yeah, I had a quick follow-up question. We were talking a little bit about this earlier, but if you wanted to have the goal in general is to have your hands as far away as possible from the dangerous material, you thought about modifying the design at all with some sort of handle or some sort of I can see it as like kind of like that tennis ball hopper or either a push broom kind of thing. Have you thought about that?
So we talked to our police department exactly about the handle, and they said that right now it would just be easier for them just to go down and pick it up with their like that. They said the handle would be more of it would get more cost, and they wouldn't use it as much.
And we want to be sure to make it clear with this model itself. This is for the Samsung Software Tomorrow competition. But even after this competition's over, we're still going to work on it. So if there were modifications that they suggested, we would add them and be able to create them.
Sure. All right. Well, if there's no further questions,
I have a quick one.
Yes.
So so what was the biggest surprise working on this project for you?
Um, Biggest surprise itself is just how much this is affecting our nation because you hear about it on the news occasionally, and you hear that we in our news, especially in our local area, especially we hear we found a needle here, but after starting to dig in and finding out statistics such as 1/3 of police officers will come in contact with the needle and have to either remove of it or find one in their course of duty and their entire lifetime.
And also, this is our opioid epidemic is a state of emergency, and so like our government recognizes that. So we were invited to the Kentucky State Capitol so that we could present this idea in front of our state representatives, and also like to go like more in depth with what he said. I mean, of course, the drugs affect the people taking the drugs, but also it affects everybody else because anybody, like a little kid or somebody who doesn't know better not to touch a needle, could come in contact with a needle, and then they could potentially have HIV, hepatitis C, hepatitis A, and all kinds of deadly diseases.
And with our project itself, we sort of talked about it. Technology itself is a great thing, but if we're not using it to help others, it's just a toy. So as we're using it to help others, I feel like it just shows the really basis of why we're using it.
All right. Great.
Thank you.
Everyone give a big hand to Ashland Middle School.
So I heard Caleb say technology.
If you're not helping people with it, it's just a toy.
Just a toy.
I like that. Put it on a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I was talking with the kids upstairs as well, and I didn't know the scale of things, especially with the opioid epidemic, until I looked into it. And last year, more people died than died in car accidents. Wow. Which, if you think of the scale of that, like we would do something if there was something for a car like that. So it's
Right.
an awesome project to see. And our next project comes from Maine.
So we welcome Noble High School.
All right, when you're ready, go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Holden Gannier. I'm a junior at Noble High School in Maine.
And my name is Cale Jones. I'm a senior at Noble High School.
And this is our project to beat manganese.
So 2 years ago, there was a drought in southern Maine, and it caused a lot of the rivers around the area to run stagnant, including our water source, the Salmon Falls River. And when the river's running stagnant, it can cause the buildup of the sediments and the minerals in the water to sort of accumulate into the water. So we were getting massive levels of manganese in our town's water supply. At the worst part of the drought, there was about 1 milligram of manganese in the water per liter of water. And just to put that in kind of like a perspective, 0.05 milligrams of manganese per liter of water is when you start to see like a brown discoloration and there's an odor and a metallic taste in the water. So we had some pretty high levels of manganese in the water. Manganese is essential in the human body and brain and nervous system processing, and there are a variety of health concerns related to manganese, including growth development issues in small children when you consume excess amounts.
Right, and this was crucially important to me because I have a little sister and she drinks the town water, so I want her to be as safe as possible and have a safe future. So our solution to this problem was to find a chemical using our STEM skills and asking multiple chemistry teachers at our school about which chemical would be the safest to use and would be the most effective at reacting with this manganese and being able to filter it out. So our solution was to use a chemical called sodium carbonate, which is a chemical that was approved by the Maine Health and Human Services Department. And so this chemical, when combined with a aluminum sulfate solution, will be able to solidify the manganese particles, which are extremely small, and be able to be filtered out in the second part of our filtering process. So basically, the sodium carbonate acts as a base, and so it'll raise the pH level of the water. So to counterbalance that, that's why we use the sulfate solution, which will bring it back down to safe drinking levels and act as a magnet, solidifying the manganese particles. So this is our prototype. It's a post-contactor prototype. Basically what that means is that It is used after we have put all the chemicals in the water, and the water with the chemicals in it passes through this final process. So the water enters through this one hose right here, and inside is an anthracite coal media, which anthracite coal is kind of like a hard coal. So maybe you know if you break up normal coal, it's powdery, but this coal, when broken up, it's like rock. So it's insoluble in water. So we put that in there, and so the water passes through the anthracite coal media and filters out the rest of the manganese, and passes through here. This is where the clean water goes through.
Right, and since manganese is such a small particle, it's very hard to filter it out using traditional medias without the chemicals that we used in order to make it into larger particles so it can filter out more effectively.
Right, and we went to the Berwick Water Department many times, and we discussed with him our solution. He said it was great, and it actually saved them a lot of time and money as they use oxidation filters, which is very expensive. So our prototype actually filters out 33% more than their current system that they have there. So they are actually still using our prototype there to test, and they're using it with the town water to see how we can improve it.
Right. Currently, there are no federal drinking water standards for manganese contents in water. The only actual regulation is just a suggestion to make sure that the water you're sending to your customers isn't black. But then again, it isn't actually, a regulation. It's more of a suggestion. So I think it's important to spread awareness for manganese, since it is such a vital compound in the human body. It's used in the bone growth production, and also the production of connective tissues in the human body, and to regulate blood pressure. So I think it's important to have manganese regulations in town drinking water, so we're not endangering the lives of children and people with maybe diabetes who might have trouble regulating their blood pressures anyway.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Noble.
Thank you. Great. I had no idea. So it's good that someone's thinking about it. Yes, Emily.
So quick question. You guys did research. You have an idea. This obviously impacts your town. Is this something that manganese is in a small percentage? Do you have any idea sort of that it's in a lot of rivers? And also, if it's only in a small percentage, do you know if this prototype can be used to remove other chemicals, not just manganese?
Right. So dirty water, and especially manganese in water, is a universal problem. It's not just specified for our town. It's a problem that many people have, such as Flint, Michigan. And so our prototype would definitely work with other minerals that cause health problems, such as iron. I know iron is very common in water, and some people have trouble filtering it out. So this could definitely be used in other towns to solve their problem as well.
Yeah, Elliot.
How much volume can your prototype handle? And then this filtration mechanism versus the other one that you mentioned, at full scale, is there a cost savings for this method?
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, you think that the manganese would get caught in the coal, and we would have to replace it and take time to remove the manganese that's been caught, so that the water doesn't clog up and cause all sorts of problems. So our solution to that was that other opening right there. We have water after the clean water has been passed through. We have another flow of water that pushes it back
So
out.
you would close these valves and then open these ones and allow it to backwash the water through, so you wouldn't have to so you could clean out the media without actually having to take apart the prototype and replacing anything.
Right.
Kitty, yeah.
So my question is, were you able to figure out, though, if this is only on a prototype level, if you had to do it for a municipality the size of your town, such as Noble, or if you needed to get to somewhere as large as Flint, Michigan, how much can you scale this? How easy is this to scale? Did you look into that?
Right. One of the issues we have with expansion at the Berwick Town Water Department is their building size. They just simply don't have the room to add a post-contactor method to their system. However, Chris Wiseman from the Berwick Water Department has said that he is currently investigating ways to incorporate our techniques into the Berwick Town Water Plant. And they are also using our prototype at the Berwick Water Department in order to conduct chemical tests on a smaller scale. And they said it was a very effective tool as it allows you to gather evidence to these new solutions.
Right, and that's the original prototype right here. So this is a scale down of the scale down. So it's about 12 feet in size, but it could definitely be. This is just kind of like a blueprint, of what the system could look like once we build it up and use actual materials such as steel and everything that they use at the water department. But that would take space, so they are looking to expand to use our prototype.
Sure. How many people were on your team, and what did everyone do specifically? Because looks like there's a little bit of everything. There's chemistry and engineering and some physics involved. So who did what?
Right. So we had about 12 people on our team, and we have some pictures here of our team members. We had about 5 active students that were continuously going to the department, and we had another 5 that would stay at Noble High School and work with the chemistry teachers and figure out which chemicals would work best. So it was really a group effort to make this all come together. So you can see here we've had many students come and were interested in trying out this STEM project and getting involved. So it was really great to see them actually help us out.
Right. We had a pretty wide array of work to do, just researching kind of like the negative impacts of excess manganese, and also researching how droughts actually impact town water supplies, and a bunch of the chemistry as well was a difficult part that we had to gather students that were interested enough to really put the effort in and find these chemicals that were both safe and approved by the Maine Department of Health and Human Services, but that were also effective and cheap.
What was your greatest challenge on your journey?
Oh man. Okay. So our greatest challenge really was creating a prototype that replicated kind of what kind of system that they were doing, but scale it down 20 times. And that was just extremely difficult, was to figure out how to make something that was small enough, but also filtered out manganese, in fact, more than their system, which was pretty impressive. And also finding out which chemicals and using stoichiometry to figure out the ratio of water to chemicals to use that would be most effective.
Right, that was definitely the most tedious part. We had figuring out which chemicals would work and which chemicals would actually be most effective. And by the end of it, our system with our chemicals and our post-contactor actually filtered out 33% more manganese than the Berwick Department's current operation system.
Yes, Elliot.
You mentioned you use stoichiometry. So, what is your theoretical byproduct of your method, and then have you tested that to verify it's actually what you think it is?
So the methods that we used, which was to figure out which amount of sulfate solution and base in acid to use, was to find out, to like have it balance out to be a pH of 7. I'm not sure the question. Could you repeat the question?
So, do you have any theoretical byproducts of the chemical reaction that you're creating? What's on the other end of clean water? Is there anything in there that you've introduced?
Yes, definitely. We've introduced, like you said, cleaner water, and yeah.
I think he's asking because when you do stoichiometry, it's like you bind one chemical to the other.
Mhm.
Then what was the actual formula?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I'll get back to you on that.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Noble High School.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. This way, please.
You can go this way.
Thank you so much.
So until I read about this project, I wasn't aware of the problem of manganese in the water supply. Were you aware of that, Kyle?
No, I wasn't. I know that there's limits for every city and every watershed area as they call it. But no, I wasn't. And the whole thing just on a guitar stand. I didn't think it would be so efficient, which I like.
Yeah. So now that they were talking about how tedious it was to scale it down, I want to see the whole thing.
Yeah, I want a huge pump.
So maybe we'll visit Maine soon, get some lobster. and see the full version.
Okay, up next, getting closer and closer to the end, we have Georgia.
Yay. Welcome to the Georgia team, Lee County Middle School West, the Tractor Angels.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are here to represent the Lee County Middle School West Solve team from Leesburg, Georgia. There are 4 members on our Tractor Angel team: Braylee Phillips, Christian Dozier, Megan Henley, and Ian Harding, and we are in 7th grade. We are here with our Solve teacher, Mr. Brian Soash.
So if you didn't know, Lee County is a very rural area where farming is one of our main sources of income. There are around 100 deaths from tractor rollovers per year in the U.S., and around 50% of the tractors in the U.S. don't have tractor rollover protection systems. This makes drivers more prone to injury or death from tractor rollovers. And the reason they don't have tractor rollover protection systems is because it's much too expensive for some farmers to buy, landing at a cost of around $1,200.
Tractor Angel is not just technology for convenience, it's technology for saving lives. It's personal for me because my great uncle and my granddad's friend both died in rollover accidents. If this technology had been available at that time, they may have survived. My family has a farm, and 3 of our 5 tractors don't have rollover protection. When my dad is working with tractors on the farm, Tractor Angel can help keep him safe. We feel better knowing that if he had a rollover, the authorities would be alerted and could get to him quickly. We see how this technology could be expanded to include ATVs, lawnmowers, and other heavy machinery such as logging and construction equipment.
So when we found out about this problem, we went to work designing a more affordable and effective way to solve the problem of tractor rollovers. We created a sensor that could sense the angle that the tractor is at, which in turn lights up an LED yellow at an angle of 40 to 50 degrees and lights it up red at an angle of 60 to 70 degrees. It also sends a SOS text message with GPS coordinates and the current situation in it with the set phone number once the LED turns red. The device runs on a lithium-ion battery and uses an antenna and a SIM card to connect to cell towers. This device landed at a cost of around $153 compared to the rollover protection system's $1,200. So you're saving $1,050 with this product.
We worked with several partners in our community during the process of making our prototypes. Mr. Jesse Grimsley is a tractor rollover survivor that we interviewed to get insight on what his experience was like. Mr. Todd Rice at Flint Ag gave us some pros and cons of where to place a sensor on a tractor. Mr. Collins from NEOS worked with us to pick out the components needed to build our prototypes and coding. Mr. Beaver from Albany Tech helped us solder the components together to build a working prototype. Mr. Dave Bishop from a local machine shop used our 3D model and the tools at his shop to help us create cases for our prototypes. Interfor donated money to build the remaining prototypes to be given to local farmers, and local partners donated tractors for our rollover test.
We used the engineering process in this competition in the sense that we first split up into design groups, then implemented it into real life by actually buying the parts and assembling the prototype. But throughout this process, we hit a lot of roadblocks. One of the main ones being that we didn't have enough storage space on the microcontroller to actually code in a more accurate GPS, along with a text-to-speech module to call the police because they don't accept text messages in our area. So the first thing we plan to do as soon as we get back from the pitch event is get a better and bigger microcontroller to actually code in a more accurate GPS and a text-to-speech module so we can call the police and get EMS there even faster to save a life.
Now we would like to demonstrate how Tractor Angel works by showing you a tractor rollover video. And remember, when life flips you over, you need an angel on your shoulder. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the tractor rollover.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And I'll open it up to the judges if they have any questions. Sure.
So obviously, you guys focused on sort of speed to answer in terms of the alert system. Is there, research around if the tractor tips over? You look at the tractor tip over and you think that's a pretty difficult accident. Does the average response happen in an hour, 2 hours, and this expedites it to minutes? Give us a feeling for the data.
So without the prototype, if let's say they didn't have a prototype on there and they flipped over, when help gets there, it really depends on when they flip over. Let's say they flipped over around noon, and they didn't have a rollover sensor. No one would know because they're out on a field with nobody around, really. So no one would really know until, let's say, their spouse realized that they were not there for dinner and went to go check on them and found that they had rolled over. And by that time, they could be severely injured or maybe even dead.
Yes, Elliot.
How much testing did you do, and then what did you learn from testing that you didn't expect?
So first we used a partner's tractor to do a controlled rollover because the tractor was still working and we didn't want to damage it. So then we had to go to a junkyard and actually find a tractor that we could do a real rollover with. And we put our sensor on there and rolled it over about 15 times or so. And our case only had a few dents in it. It didn't take a lot of damage.
Yes.
So what was your biggest obstacle you had to overcome?
The fact that with the coding, as I said, the microcontroller didn't have enough space to fit a lot of the features that we wanted to add in. So that's what we are planning to do as soon as we get back from the pitch. We want to work on that and get a better microcontroller that can actually fit more, we can code more stuff into it, such as the text-to-speech where we could call the police, and also a more accurate GPS, because the GPS we have right now, which is built into the microcontroller, isn't as accurate as we'd like it to be. We want it to be just dead on pinpoint, and also be able to call the police so they can come even faster and get them to the hospital faster and save their life. And that's the thing about this prototype. It can save lives, and that's such a big deal, and I really want to keep working on this. And I want to someday even hopefully make it to market and actually be a product where people can buy and actually save people's lives, because that's just a big deal, and I really affects me a lot when I think about that.
Yes, Katie.
So have you worked with your local police and county police, local precinct police, to talk about this and how this would link up with their communication systems?
We haven't worked with police because, well, we haven't worked with police. We've worked with local experts, like we said, such as coding experts, to make the prototype, and we also surveyed rollover survivors to see if the prototype would have been helpful in their situation if they had that. The rollover survivor we talked to was lucky enough to actually be able to get out and move and find help, but he had to walk for 2 miles before he actually found help. So if you were in a rollover and you were injured to where you couldn't walk or move or anything, there's no one around to find you unless someone comes looking for you, which would probably take a long time. And with this device, people could be notified instantly, and you could get help there immediately.
Yes. No? No more questions? I have a question. It sounded like you worked with a lot of your community to make all of this happen, from donating to helping solder and things like that. How was the community reception to your prototype?
What do you mean by community reception? If you could.
How interested were they to have something like this? Did they think this is a project we definitely need this? Yes, of course we'll donate.
We had partners such as Mr. Rob Collins from NEOS, who invested hours of his time completely free to help us with this project. We had other community partners such as Mr. Beaver come over to solder, and he also soldered components for us. We had a bunch of partners who were completely willing to help us with this, and just a big thank you to them, because this probably wouldn't have been possible without them. And we have a lot to thank from them.
Right.
Can you talk about the STEAM subjects and the STEAM skills that you used most while working on your prototype?
So we used the science part. We had to figure out the angles along with math. That's also with math. We use arts because we had to make it aesthetically pleasing because another aspect of this is people want it to look good. They want it to look nice to buy it. So we had to come up with a nice paint job and make it look pleasing to the eye so people would actually want to buy this and put it on their tractor. We use engineering in the sense that we had to code the parts so it would function right, and we used we use technology because we also that also comes in with the coding. We used a computer to code it and implemented that. We put that on the device basically, so it holds that coding and it would actually do what we wanted it to do. So we implemented Steam basically a lot throughout this.
Yeah. So you covered everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have one final question from Elliot.
Sometimes with alert systems, the worst thing you could do is have false positives, so people start ignoring the alerts. Did you ever run into that during your project, and what'd you do to mitigate it?
We did run into this, and we did come up with a way to fix this. What happened was we had vibration problems, so when it would vibrate, it would set off by accident, even if it hadn't tipped over. So we actually added a material inside the case, as well as drilled it in, so it wouldn't move around as much, so it wouldn't actually vibrate, and it wouldn't have a false positive. So that's what we did to fix that, and we haven't gotten any false positives since then.
Okay, great. Everyone, big hand for the team from Georgia.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. All right. Only one more team left to go.
Wow. Wow, it feels like we just started.
It's been really good. It hasn't felt like 9 so far. That's for sure. I wish I.
No, they go really fast.
You should do this every year.
We do. This is the 8th program year for Samsung Solve for Tomorrow. We'll be doing it again next year.
Yeah.
So our next school comes from Oregon.
Oregon, yes.
And they have quite a big prototype.
And the students are actually going to leap out of the.
Yeah, they're under the table.
What if they
actually.
did?
They've been
though?
there the whole time.
What if they
It's fun.
did though? It would be a cool. All right, let's welcome the team from Oregon. Great. All right, whenever you're ready.
I'm Mariah Gallagher, and I'm in 6th grade at Clear Creek Middle School in Gresham, Oregon.
I'm Sarah Rash. I'm an 8th grader at Clear Creek Middle School. Hurricane Katrina was estimated $81 billion in damages and ended up costing over $160 billion. The Times said that 2/3 of the injuries and illnesses caused by being trapped in a house surrounded by water happened. And so the community is, with nowadays technology, can be considered a lot more than just the people we see every day in Oregon, because you can go on your phone and you can see about stories all over the world. So in Oregon, we don't experience much flooding, but we do because of heavy spring rainfall or snow. And we also we're anticipating an earthquake off the fault lines, which would be causing that. And we saw the hatches on top of houses, on top of commercial buildings like our school, that would provide an escape for people who got stuck. And so we decided that why don't we have one of those on residential buildings? And so we started thinking, and that's how we came up with the Life Hatch. And in order to bring that to life, we met with people in our community, such as a specialist for emergencies and a FEMA certified firefighter. And after hearing what they had to say, we got our plans and things that we could add to the frame that we got from the metal shop called Advanced Metal and Wire Fabrication. And so we used that frame. And
once we had the frame, we wanted to continue to build the Life Hatch to improve safety in homes and also to help first responders to do their jobs. We designed the hatch to do this in 3 ways. First, the hatch itself provides an escape out of your attic onto your roof if floodwaters are rising and it is unsafe to evacuate. It was created using 16-gauge steel, which is powder coated to prevent heat transfers on hot days and also to protect from rust. It is built to accommodate standard roof joists, which are 24 inches on center. Second, it provides an LED light beacon that flashes SOS in international Morse code for the first responders to see when someone needs to be rescued. We coded a microcontroller to run the beacon, and we attached a strut near the beacon so that the lid can tilt backward towards the sky so the first responders can see the light. The third feature is a recorded distress message that is broadcast on an FM frequency, and this can be heard up to 300 feet away. We coded this message in Python. This signal will help guide first responders using a GPS to the location of the hatch. It sounds like this.
They're located at 219 Northeast 219th Avenue in Gresham, Oregon. Wildcat family is in need of rescue. They're located at 219 Northeast 219th.
We feel very honored to present to you our life hatch today. We have worked very hard and feel that this hatch could potentially save countless lives all over the world. Thank you for your attention.
Fantastic. Great job. And now I will open it up to our panel of esteemed judges. Yes, Katie.
So I thought this was a great idea because living in New Jersey, we've had flooding. We've had not quite as bad as what we've seen in the South. So I relate to what this needed. My question was, if the power goes out, how are you sourcing the power on this to keep it going, especially in a flood situation if your whole neighborhood was pretty much going under?
So we actually added a solar panel on the back for a backup battery because if the batteries die and it's not connected to the power and you lose power, we thought, why don't we have something for backup?
And it also has the two batteries right here, which do power it, and then the solar panel would just provide charge for those. It could also be connected to household power if needed because the batteries only provide 25-minute of charge each.
Yes, go ahead.
How expensive is this to your prototype to make, and how easy is it to install and to?
This prototype was about $800. And to install would be very simple, just cutting a hole in your roof and then screwing it on. We have a picture on there of when we had the fire department install it on one of their training houses for us.
I was actually going to ask that question, but do you know what's the alternative right now? Obviously, is there something else people are doing? Are they doing sort of a ladder escape, or kind of have a sense of what you guys are giving beyond the technology?
Well, during Hurricane Katrina, as you can see in this picture, people cut holes out of their roofs so they could escape, but not many people could do that because they might not have the capability or there are other complications.
Yeah, Jim. So what was your largest obstacle you had to overcome as you developed your prototype and your idea?
I think just seeing what all we could put on it, and also just trying to understand that we couldn't put everything on this, and that it is such as figuring out the wiring and stuff that we had to. There were some things that we wanted to add to it that we couldn't just because of either time or other things, and also just trying to learn all that we could, but knowing that we couldn't do absolutely everything with the materials and stuff that we had.
How did it go on the test house? Was it successful?
Yeah, I think it was pretty successful.
From being from Oregon, I know there's a lot of trees out there, a lot of greenery, a lot of moss, all that stuff. Does this have an additional function? Can you just also get out on your roof if you needed to clean it or something like that?
Yes, it is a multi-purpose hatch, so it could be used for basic convenience, like getting onto your roof to clean your gutters or the chimney or any kind of maintenance like that, because a lot of people do get injured going from ladder to roof. And it also can be used for ventilating smoke out of the house. and that's one thing that we wanted to add was it's called a Knox box. It is on a lot of things. Firefighters will be able to unlock it and get keys out so that they could open this in case to get out the smoke, and it would help with several things.
So can you tell us what the most difficult part of this project was for you?
I think one of the hardest things for me was when we were trying to figure out the right size for the hatch because it is built to stand. Anyway, we had to figure out the right size. It couldn't be too big because it couldn't compromise the roof, but at the same time, it couldn't be too small to where people couldn't fit through it. So we figured out the standard roof joists, which is 24 inches on center, and then we built it to accommodate those.
So can you tell me a little bit? I heard you talk about that there is floods or there's potentially floods and earthquakes in Oregon. Can you talk about a little bit more about what your inspiration was for this?
Our inspiration was we in class were seeing all of these things about Harvey and Irma and Maria and all those hurricanes, and just watching, we could donate money to help them, but we couldn't really help a lot. We couldn't go and contribute and make a solution. And we were watching a video where we saw that they had cut holes out, and we thought, hey, we have a hatch on our school. Why don't we do one on residential buildings? And so that people, and obviously not everyone would be able to use this. Elderly, people in wheelchairs, people who just wouldn't fit would not be able to, but at least it would allow some people to either get out or have a way to contact someone to rescue them.
I would be worried cutting a hole in my roof to let water in or to let animals in my house. Were you guys able to design it to stop water from coming in or pests to get into your attic?
Yes. This part will go down, and it creates almost a seal. Water wouldn't be able to get in because of both this part and this part, and it would completely close, and we would have a lock on it and things, so it would not be able to be opened from outside forces unless, as I was talking about, firefighters.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Big hand to our last presenting team from Oregon. Great job.
Okay, so I think that was our last school.
That was it. We did it.
Wow, 10.
Yeah, we did it.
Wow, go
We did it.
teams.
We
What
did
an
it.
amazing job. I learned so many new things today. So I'm going to ask you, Kyle, what was the biggest surprise for you today?
Oh, I like the focus. If I was asked to do a project like this, I would probably try to tackle something that was, big in my head rather than big in my community. And I loved the focus on community problems that you can tell affect those places that all the teams are from directly. It's not just, well, I want to save the world, which is too big of a box to play in. I love the tractors rolling over and manganese in the water. These are local problems for these teams, and I really like seeing
And
that
these
approach.
teams didn't shy away from the hard issues at all. They really just tackled them head on. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. So with that, we have some closing remarks.
Yes.
From Ann Wu, who is the director of corporate citizenship at Samsung Electronics America. So she'll give us some closing remarks, and then I actually do one housekeeping note before Ann gets on. So when we wrap up, for all the top 10 national finalist schools, you'll have some free time after Ann wraps to walk around and just experience the activations a little bit more. There will be a New York tour for those team members here that presented, and so you'll look for this gentleman right here at what time is it? What time is it? 3:55. 3:55, right up there. So the bus will leave without you. So please look for him. Is there a question before the closing remarks?
Yes, Wolverine could get a tattoo, but it would probably fade more quickly than normal tattoos because when your body gets a tattoo, it is creating hundreds of small holes, and it uses capillary action to actually drag the ink particles, which are metallic particles, down underneath the skin. And your body, with macrophages, tries to remove that ink, but the particles are too large, so the macrophages stay underneath the skin. But what you can do is use laser removal to break up those ink particles by differentially heating one side or the other, and then your body they are small enough for the macrophages to take away, and then they fade over time. But that's what your body does. But Wolverine would probably be better at that because he's an enhanced healing factor.
So yes, yes.
This has been a fun day.
Yes.
This has been fun. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, well, thank you so much, Kyle. It
Hey,
was a
no
pleasure
problem.
co-hosting with you.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank
it's
you.
all about you. I keep saying this, but if anyone is going to change the world, it is going to be everyone here that is presenting today, taking what you learn from the classroom, from your community, and applying it to the world. As Carl Sagan once said, we can do science, and with it, we can change our lives. And I think that's what everyone here has in their heart, and what I think has a great potential to happen. So thank you all for having me and for doing this. It's awesome.
Thank you. And now, Ann Wu.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure that today's been a long day, but hopefully an exciting one for all of you. I again want to thank all of the students, the teachers, the administrators, the judges, and all of the other distinguished guests that we have here today for taking the time to be together, to listen to some amazing ideas, and really be part of this experience. The Solve for Tomorrow team at Samsung have been working on this for the better part of the last 8 or 9 months. We met you very early on with just a couple of questions back in the fall, and this is a special a moment as it is for you. For I like to think as much for us because we have been thinking about all of you, dreaming of the ideas. So excited to see each phase of the program evolve and proceed, and just the ability and the opportunity for us to see your projects come to life and to have you present them has been just an amazing experience for all of us. So I just want to thank all of you for being part of the journey all together with us. One of the things that we, and I think David Steele mentioned early on, is that we hope that as you have experienced the pitch today and then see the final outcomes of the competition, that this is just a mechanic and a platform to what you've already been doing, which is really identifying ideas and really taking it upon yourselves as a challenge, an obligation, a commitment to fellow members of your community and society as a whole to make a difference. That's what this program is really all about. And while doing that, also think about what STEM and STEAM did and can do, the potential that it has, because ultimately, while we understand that not everyone will become an engineer out of this program, that you understand what critical thinking that comes with skills like engineering and science and all of the projects that you've done can make a difference in how you think, how you engage with others, and actually the change that you can create on your own. So that's what we would like you to take away, and then really share that with others in your community, your classmates, and the world, because that's what you have inside you and something that we are honored to be part of. So I have met several of you outside of this, and I know that you may have heard, I think I sent a couple of emails out in the beginning of the program, but you really met most of my of the Solve for Tomorrow programming team throughout the course of the year. Michelle, April, Victoria, Kelly, Bernadette, and some of the others who've been in contact with you and preparing. But there was one other person that you got to hear from throughout the program. It was mostly through video, which is our CEO, Tim Baxter. Unfortunately, Tim wasn't able to. We really tried, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it to the pitch today. He was really disappointed by his schedule change, but he had an opportunity to record a video that we'd like to share with you. So can we play it?
Good afternoon, Samsung Solve for Tomorrow Top 10 Schools. I truly enjoyed being a part of your Samsung journey, learning about each of your solutions and the impact you are having in your communities. It's been amazing to see you representing a generation of fearless students tackling big issues in real ways and making a difference that can improve the lives of so many others. Remember that each one of you is already a winner. As a national finalist, you have earned $50,000 in Samsung technology. We hope it will make a difference in your classrooms and communities for years to come. And I'll tell you, everyone at Samsung is so proud of you. Now, I have one final surprise to share with you, and this is pretty cool. On Wednesday morning, you will all be in studio on live TV with Good Morning America. Yes. And you know what? The 3 national winners from the 2018 Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition will be announced live. Don't forget, tell your friends, tell your family, you're going to be on TV. So thank you for being here and for working so hard to make a difference. Best of luck.
So Tim has been surprising you throughout the program year, so we figured we'd have one final surprise left for you, and no better person to deliver it than Tim Baxter. So Wednesday morning, we will be in studio on Good Morning America, where we will be announcing together the 3 national winners. So your work today, it's over. There are no changes in scores. The judges have closed their folders. We'll be deciding who will be the 3 national winners. So we're going to have all of you together with us, but we figured we'd add yet another surprise to what it was, a surprise-filled year. And we're so proud to be able to have this great moment with you. So are you guys excited? Okay. Our team has been like dying to tell you. I met someone's mother in the hallway last night, and they were asking me when the final winners would be announced, and I kind of played it off like, I only work part-time on this program. I tried to break from my room, so apologies to the mom for not being upfront about it, but we thought, we wanted to have you all together for this special announcement. So thank you for your great work today and your excitement and all the hard work that, we couldn't have dreamed of a better pitch event and a better group of students and schools than the ones we have here today. So thank you so much. And I hope the next 48 hours, 72 hours, or what, 36 hours, I've lost track already, will be fun. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the time with us. So thanks so much.